What's going on YouTube? GeoSnow right here. Today we're discussing the state of iOS jailbreaking for iOS 26 and 18, and we're also discussing whether you should update iOS 26 or wait on iOS 18 if you want to jailbreak. And this is important because iOS 26 does change a lot of things, and depending on your situation and your device, it may actually be a bad idea. Now, for those of you who are unaware, the last jailbreak was essentially dopamine, so anything from iOS 17.0 up to iOS 18.6 is currently not jailbreakable. Normally, if you are on any of these versions, it's currently not jailbreakable, but one version is not like the other. So being on iOS 17.0 would essentially be the greatest version you could be on because you have TrollStore. But after that, 17.0.1 or 0.1 or whatever, if you go up, there aren't really that many tools available. And for jailbreak purposes, however, it is a goldmine being on iOS 17, any version of iOS 17. iOS 18 is okay up to like iOS 18.4.1. If you go up to iOS 18.5 or iOS 18.6, it's much worse, but not really that bad. But if you already updated 18.5, it's not that big of a deal, at least if you don't update further to iOS 26. Now, the security content of iOS 18.6, if you take a look in here on Apple's website, doesn't really patch that many bugs. And while it does patch a few of them, they're not that important. They're usually either crashing applications or out of bounds reads that create unexpected app termination, a state where the device will reboot like a proper crash, but not really any code execution or anything like that. So considering that, it means that iOS 18.5 and lower, they're not exactly full of kernel exploits, kernel bugs and stuff like that. So realistically speaking, being on iOS 18.6, 18.6.1 or 18.5 would essentially be kind of the same thing in terms of security. Now, I would highly recommend you would stay on a lower version because the lower the better, but if you already updated, at least don't update iOS 26. Right now, iOS 26 is in development. There is the public beta, there is also the developer beta, and we do get a lot of updates. It will be released this fall. So by now, Apple is essentially trying to fix as many bugs as they can before the iOS 26.0. So you should probably avoid it because it's currently in the works. And while it may introduce a lot of bugs that could prove useful, it may also patch a lot of bugs that are reported before the release. And in the worst case scenario, you end up having to be on a beta of iOS 26 to be able to use a bug that by the end of the beta, by the release time, gets patched. So for jailbreak purposes, completely avoid iOS 26. Anyway, for DelayOTA, somebody in the comments asked me about DelayOTA and its status. Well, at first, with DelayOTA, you can only update from older versions to a new one that is no longer signed, and only while it's still not expired. You can check out the table here on my website. However, you cannot downgrade from, say, iOS 18.6, 18.5, you can go back. However, only 18.5 is currently available as a profile, and it's not exactly very useful for you. So I would highly advise you to not jump from, say, iOS 15 or 16 to 18.5. Even though app support might quite be terrible on iOS 15, it's still a worse idea to update because you will be without the jailbreak for a long time. So that's essentially the current status. The iOS 18.6 and 18.6.1 are currently the only signed versions. You should avoid them as much as you can because they're pretty bad for jailbreaking. We don't really get jailbreaks for the latest version, so you should probably stay as low as you can. But if you don't care about jailbreaking, either iOS 18.6.1 or iOS 26 would do. Just know that you cannot go back. Anyway, this video was brought to you by FlexStore. They provide pre-signed jailbreak utilities like Uncover, Dopamine, and so on without a computer. It doesn't expire every 7 days, and you can of course re-sign your favorite tools with no problem. Check it out in the link below. Thank you for watching. I am GeoSnow. Till the next time, peace out.